Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make Kousa mahsha in a beautiful tomato sauce. This recipe calls for light-skinned zucchinis. The middle is cored out and a delicious mix of minced meat, rice and spices is stuffed into it and cooked. This is how people from northern Lebanon tend to make it, but each village has its own spin on the recipe. You can also core out and stuff capsicums, potatoes, squashes and other things with this stuffing recipe. This is a very popular dish to make in my house, and there's never any leftovers as the family demolishes it in one sitting. You can place 1 or 2 of the cooked zucchinis in a snap lock bag with some sauce and freeze them. Then when you don't feel like cooking, you can heat them up on the stove top or in a microwave, and it makes for a very fast meal when you can't be bothered to cook. This is the way my mother taught me how to make it, and I'm sharing it with you. The ingredients needed for this recipe are 6 to 8 medium zucchinis. Use only the light skin ones as the dark ones tend to be too thin and don't taste as good. I also use basmati rice, a good quality minced meat. This is a beef mince, but you can also use lamb if you want. The recipe also calls for a can of diced tomatoes. You can use passata in place of the tomatoes or even tomato paste. For this recipe I'll be using cumin, cinnamon, garam masala, cayenne pepper, black pepper, white pepper and salt. I'll also use a portion of butter and some good quality olive oil. To start, the fry pan is placed on a high heat and I pour in about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Then I'll start browning off 75 grams of minced meat, lamb or beef. This is a beef mince. I'll use a spatula to break up the mince into smaller and smaller pieces. This will help us later when we're stuffing the zucchinis. I then add half a cup of basmati rice, which I've thoroughly rinsed off, and I'll mix them through. Next I'll add 15 grams of butter and stir it through. Now comes the time to add in the spices, and they are half a teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, quarter teaspoon of black pepper, quarter teaspoon of white pepper, quarter teaspoon of garam masala, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I really like the heat in my food, but if you can't stand it, then I would suggest reduce the pepper or take it out altogether. I also add in a quarter teaspoon of salt to the stuffing. Mix all the spices through and then take it off the heat and set it aside to cool. Using a zucchini corer, the next part is to pick the insides of the zucchinis out. Today I'm using 6 light-skinned zucchinis. Look for ones that are a bit fuller, as the slimmer ones are harder to scoop the insides from without accidentally puncturing them and creating a hole. This zucchini has a couple of imperfections that come from where it's been bruised when it was growing or after it has been picked. I'll slice off the top and the bottom of the zucchini and then slice any imperfections off the skin. Also, if the opening is not big enough, I'll slice sections of the top to make it easier on myself to core and stuff the zucchini later. I'll continue doing this for all of them to make them appealing and ready to core out. As you can see, there's very little waste as I want to keep as much of the zucchini as possible. You'll notice that I'm not throwing out the slices as I'll add them to the sauce later. Using this thin zucchini corer, I'll pick out the insides. I measure about 80% of the way into the vegetable and place my thumb so it don't go too far in. I'll angle the corer around and pick out about 60% of the inside of it. And with practice can tell where there's still some zucchini insides to be picked out. Usually for this part I sit down and watch a show, as it can be a bit tedious. As I'm only doing 6 zucchinis, I'm going to do them all on camera. Just be careful as the end of the zucchini is curved, so it's very easy to accidentally poke through it if you're not paying attention or if you're being a bit too hasty with coring it out. The insides of the zucchinis can be added for the sauce, which is what I normally do. The more vegetables the better. It also helps thicken the sauce and it's an excellent way to hide veggies from those fussy eaters in your house. Now off camera I have washed the zucchinis again and they're now ready to be filled. Now I'm stuffing the zucchinis with the filling I made. I fill each of them about 70% of the way to leave room for the rice to cook and expand without it spilling from the zucchini or splitting the zucchini. From previous experience I know that zucchinis of this size will take anywhere from 28 grams to 48 grams of stuffing. Any of the stuffing that remains can be frozen to use for your next zucchini cook. Or you can use it to make another favourite dish of mine, which is wara anab, stuffed vine leaves that are cooked in beautiful lemon and garlic. If I have the video up on my channel, it will be on screen or linked in the description below. In a large saucepan, I've allowed 2 cups of water to come to the boil. Next, I'll add in half a tablespoon of salt. You should adjust the salt to your taste, and the inside of the zucchinis. Sometimes a greyish scum will develop, which you can skim away with a ladle spoon to get rid of it. Now the stuffed zucchinis are added. I'll cover the saucepan and allow it to boil away for about 20 minutes. There is another version of this dish with a beautiful garlic and yogurt sauce. If you're interested in the recipe, I have it on my channel. It is linked on screen and in the description box below. And then I'll check on the progress by testing the firmness of the zucchini with a spoon. Here I can see that they're only about halfway done. So I'll replace the lid and allow it to cook. Please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the new videos I have coming out. When the zucchini is about 80% cooked, I'll slice into one to check the progress of the rice. It only needs about another 10 minutes, so now I will add in a can of diced tomatoes and carefully mix it with the ladle. I'm being careful not to nudge the zucchinis. The lid will go back on and I will allow them to cook for another 10 minutes. This is me doing a final check of the rice to see if it's finished cooking. It is now ready to eat. We usually serve 1 or 2 zucchinis in a bowl, adding that absolutely delicious tomato sauce. The smell is just amazing. It is a great dish to make when you have guests over, as they'll be very impressed with it. It's also a great comfort food on a cold and miserable rainy day. You can place 1 or 2 of the cooked zucchinis in a snap lock bag with some sauce and freeze them. Then when you don't feel like cooking, you can heat them up on the stovetop or in a microwave, and it makes for a very fast meal when you can't be bothered to cook. You can also core out and stuff capsicums, potatoes, squashes and other things with this stuffing recipe. If you have any questions or suggestions, I'm happy to hear it in the comments section. I hope you have a go at making this recipe, and I'd love to hear how you go with it. Please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the new videos I have coming out. There's also a yogurt sauce version which is equally as good. It's on screen now if you're interested in it, and it's also linked in the description box below. Happy cooking and thank you for watching. See you in the next video.